My dear angels, today I have brought another adventure of the wishing chair written by Enid Blyton. Adventure 11, The Disappearing Island. Before starting my new adventure, I ask you to subscribe my channel, like my channel, and forward my channel, share my channel. Thank you. The Disappearing Island. It happened once that the children and Chinky had a most unpleasant adventure, and it was all Mollie's fault. The wishing chair grew its wings one bright sunny morning, just as the three of them were planning a game of pirates. Molly saw the red wings growing from the legs of the chair and cried out in delight. Look, the chair is off again. Let's get in and have an adventure. They all crowded into it, and in a trice the chair was off through the door and into the air. It was such fun, for the day was clear and sunny, and the children could see for miles. The chair flew on and came to the towers and spires of fairyland. They glittered in the sun, and Peter wanted to go down and visit the prince and princess they had once rescued. But the chair still flew on. It flew over the land of gnomes and over the land of toadstools, and at last came to a bright blue sky. Hello, hello, said Chinky, peering over the edge of the chair. I have never been as far as this before. I don't know if we ought to fly over the sea. The chair might get tired. And then what would happen to us if we all came down in the sea? We shan't do that, said Molly, pointing to a blue island far away on the horizon. I think the chair is making for that land over there. The chair flew steadily towards it, and the children saw that the land they had seen in the distance was a small and beautiful island. It was packed with flowers, and the sound of bells came faintly up from the fields and hills. We must not go there, said Chinky suddenly. That is disappearing island. Well, why shouldn't we go there? Said Molly. Because it suddenly disappears, said Chinky. I have heard of it before. It is a horrid place. You get there and think it's all as beautiful as can be, and then it suddenly disappears and takes you with it. It can't be horrid, said Molly longingly, looking down at the sunny, flower spread island. Oh, Chinky, you must be mistaken. It is the most beautiful island I ever saw. I do want to go. There are some lovely birds there too. I can hear them singing. I tell you, Molly, it is dangerous to go to disappearing island, said Chinky crossly. You might believe me. You are not always right, said Molly obstinately. I want to go there, wishing chair, fly down to that lovely island. At once, the chair began to fly downwards. Chinky glared at Molly, but the words were said. He couldn't unsay them. Don't they flew and down. The brilliant island came nearer and nearer. Molly shouted in delight to see such glorious bright flowers, such shiny winged birds, such plump, soft rabbits. The chair flew swiftly towards them. And then, just as they were about to land in a field spread with buttercups as large as poppies, among soft eyed bunnies and singing birds, a most strange and peculiar thing happened. The island disappeared. One moment it was there, and the sun was shining on its fields, and the next moment was there only a faint blue mist. The chair flew through the mist, and then splash. They were all in the sea. Molly and Peter were flung off the chair into the water. Chinky grabbed the back of the chair and reached his hand out to the children. They clambered back to the chair, which was bobbling about on the waves, soaking wet. What did I tell you? Said Chinky angrily. Didn't I say it was disappearing island? Now see what has happened. It's gone and disappeared, and we have fallen into the sea. A nice pickle we are in, all wet and shivery, just like a girl to get us into this mess. Molly went red. How she wished she hadn't wanted to go to Disappearing Island. Well, I don't know it was going to disappear. So suddenly, she said, very sorry. Not much good being sorry, said Peter gloomily, squeezing the water out of his clothes. How are we going to get to land? As far as I can see, there is water all around us for miles. The chair's wings are wet and it can't fly. The three of them were indeed in a dreadful fix. It was fortunate for them that the chair was made of wood, or they would not have had anything to cling to. They bobbed up and down for some time, wondering what to do. Suddenly, to their greatest surprise, a little head popped out of the sea. Hello, it said. Are you wanting help? Yes, said Chinky. Are you a merman? I am, said the little fellow. The children looked down at him, and through the green water they could see his fish like body covered with scales from the waist downwards and ending in a silvery tail. Do you want to be towed to land? Yes, please, said Chinky joyfully. That will cost you a piece of gold, said the merman. I haven't any with me, but we will send it to you as soon as we get home, promised Chinky. The merman swam off and came back riding on a big fish. He threw a rope of seaweed around the back of the chair and shouted to Chinky to hold on to it. Then the fish set off at a great speed, towing the chair behind it with Chinky and the children safely on it. The merman rode on the fish all the way, singing a funny little watery song. It was a strange ride. Soon they came to land, and the children dragged the chair out of the water onto the sun-baked sand. Thank you, they said to the merman. We will send you the money as soon as we can. The merman jumped on the fish again, waved his wet hand, and dived into the waves with a splash. We will wait till the sun has dried the chair's wings, and we will dry our own clothes, said Chinky. Then we will go home. I think that was a most unpleasant adventure. We might have been bobbling over for days on the sea. Molly didn't say anything. She knew it was all her fault. They dried their clothes, and as soon as the wings of the chair were quite dry, too, they sat in it and Chinky cried, Home, wishing chair home. They flew home. Molly jumped off the chair as soon as it arrived in the playroom and ran to her money box. She tipped out all her pennies, sixpences, and shillings. Here you are, Chinky, she said. I'm going to pay for that fish right myself. It was all my fault. I'm very sorry, and I won't be so silly again. Do forgive me. Oh, that's very nice of you, Molly, said Chinky, and he gave her a hug. Of course, We forgive you. All's well that ends well. We are home again, safe and sound. He changed the pennies, sixpences, and shillings into a big gold piece and gave it to the blackbird in the garden, asking him to take it to the merman. That's the end of that adventure, said Chinky. Well, let's hope our next one will be much, much nicer. 12th adventure, The Magician's Party. One afternoon, when the children and Chinky were reading stories, there came a timid knock at the door. Come in, called Molly. The door opened, and in came two small elves. May we speak to Chinky? They asked. Chinky waved them to a chair. Sit down, he said. What do you want? Please, maybe borrow your wishing chair to go to the magician's great heart's party, said the bigger elf. Well, it doesn't belong to me, said Chinky. It belongs to these two children. Would you let us borrow it? Asked the little elves. Certainly, said Molly and Peter. What reward do you ask? Said the elves. Oh, you can have the chair for nothing, said Molly. Bring it back safely, that's all. I suppose you won't like to come to the party? Asked the elves. We are very small and there are only five of us to go. There would be plenty of room for you and for Chinky too in the chair. Stars and moon, what a treat! Cried Chinky in delight. Well, we will all go. Thanks very much. Great hearts parties are glorious. My word, this is luck. When is the party, elves? Tomorrow night, said the elves, sharp at midnight. We will be here at 11:30. Right, said Chinky. The little elves said goodbye and ran out. Chinky rubbed his hands and turned to the two delighted children. The magician is a marvelous fellow, he said. He is a good magician, and the enchantments and magic he knows are perfectly wonderful. I hope he does a few tricks. Put on your best clothes and be here at 11:30 tomorrow night, won't you? The children were most excited. They talked about nothing else all day long and the next day too. They dressed themselves in their best clothes and ran down to the playroom at 11:30 the next night. Chinky was there too, looking very grand indeed, for he had on a suit that seemed to be made of silver moonbeams sewn with pearls. The elves were there waiting, all dressed daintily in flower petals sewn with spider thread. Even the wishing chair looked smart, for Chinky had tied a big bow on each of its arms. Its red wings were lazily flapping. The children got in and Chinky sat on the back. The five little elves easily found room on the two arms. Off they went, flying through the moonlight to their great and wonderful party. The magician's palace was set on top of a high hill. The chair did not take long to get there. It flew down and took its place among the long line of carriages that were drawing up one by one at the big front door. When their turn came, the children and the elves jumped off the chair and ran up the steps. They were shown into a great hall, and there they shook hands with the magician's great heart, a tall and a handsome enchanter whose cloak rippled out as he walked, as if it were made of blue water. His eyes were kind and looked right through everyone. A band was playing merrily in the big hall, and Chinky caught hold of Molly and danced with her. Peter found a small, shy fairy and danced with her too, though she was so light that he couldn't make up his mind if she was real or not. There were hundreds of fairy folk there of all kinds: gnomes, goblins, brownies, fairies, elves, pixies, but only two children. So Molly and Peter felt most honored. Then came the supper. It was so queer. The long, long table was spread with plates and glasses and dishes. But there was no food at all. No, not even a yellow jelly. The magician took his place at the end of the table. Will you each wish for what you like best to eat? He said in his kind, deep voice. Take it in turn, please. A brownie next to him said, I wish for honey, lemonade, and sugar biscuits. At once, a jug of yellow lemonade appeared by him and a plate of delicious sugar biscuits. The fairy next to the brownie wished for chocolate, blanc, mayonnaise, and a cream ice. They appeared even as she spoke the words. It was such fun to see them come. Molly and Peter watched in amazement as all the dishes and jugs on the table became full of the most exciting things, with each little creature wished his or her wish. They had their turn too. I wish for cream buns and gingerbread, said Molly. And I wish for tickle, pudding, and lemonade, said Peter. A dish of cream buns and a bottle of fizzy ginger beer appeared in front of Molly, and a dish with a steaming hot tickle, pudding, and a jug of lemonade appeared by Peter. It was just like a dream. Everyone ate and drank and was merrily as could be. Then, after the supper, the magician spoke one strange word, and the long, long table with its dishes and plates vanished into thin air. Now, we will have some magic, said magician, beaming at his excited guests. They all sat down on the floor. The magician took a silver stick and tapped 3 times on the floor. A spire of green smoke came up and made a crackling noise. It shot up into the air, turned over and over, and wound its way among the guests, dropping tiny bunches of sweet smelling flowers as it passed, buttonholes for everyone. The smoke went, the magician tapped the floor again, and up rose 5 black cats, each with a violin except the last one, and he had a drum. After the cats came 6 plump rabbits who danced to the tunes that the cats played. One rabbit turned upside down and danced on his ears, and that made Peter laugh so much that he had to get out his handkerchiefs to wipe his tears of laughter away. Then an even stranger things happened next. The magician tapped the floor once more, and up came a great flower of yellow. It opened, and in the middle of it the guests could see 5 red eggs. The eggs broke, and out came tiny chicks. They grew and grew and grew, and became great brilliant birds with long drooping tails. Then they opened their beaks and sang so sweetly that not a sound could be heard in the great hall but their voices. The birds flew away. The flower faded. The magician tapped the floor for the last time. The gnome appeared, whose long beard floated round him like a mist. He handed Great Heart a big dish with a lid. The magician took off the lid and lifted out a silver spoon. He stirred in the air, and bubbling sound came. Round the spoon grew a glass bowl. The children could see the spoon shining in it. But suddenly the spoon turned to gold and swam about a live goldfish. Great Heart took the goldfish neatly into his hand and threw it into the air. It disappeared. Who has it? Asked Great Heart. Everyone looked about, but no one had the fish. Greatheart laughed and went over to Molly. He put his hand into her right ear and pulled out the goldfish. Then he took up Peter's hand and opened it. And will you believe it? Peter had a little yellow chick there, cheeping away merrily. Oh, the tricks that the magician did, no one would ever believe them. Peter and Molly rubbed their eyes several times and wondered if they were dreaming. Best of all came the last trick. The magician, as he said good night to his guests, gave each a tiny egg. It will hatch tomorrow, he said. Keep it safely. The children thanked him very much for a marvelous evening and then got sleepily into the wishing chair with Chinky and the elves. How they got home they never knew, for there must have been magic about that took them home, undressed them, and popped them into bed without their knowing. Anyway, they found themselves there the next morning when they awoke, although they did not remember at all how they got there. I believe it was all a beautiful dream, said Molly. It wasn't, said Peter, putting his hand under his pillow. He brought out his little egg. As he looked at it, it broke, and there in his hand was a tiny silver watch, tickling away merrily. Molly gave a scream of delight and put her hand under her pillow to get her egg too. It broke in her hand, and out of it came a necklace of beads that looked exactly like bubbles. It was the loveliest one Molly had ever seen. Hurry up and dress, and we'll see what Chinky got, said Molly. They hurried, and when they saw Chinky, he showed them his present golden buckles for his shoes. Didn't they look grand? That was the loveliest party I have ever been to, said Molly happily. I wish all our wishing cheer adventures were like that. Now, the 13th adventure. The wishing chair is foolish. Once the wishing chair was very foolish and nearly landed the children and Chinky in a dreadful fix. It grew its wings one morning when the children were playing snakes and ladders. Chinky saw the red wings flapping and jumped up in excitement. Come on, he cried. I'm longing for another adventure. They all jumped onto the chair. It flew out of the door in a great hurry and then up into the air. It was a beautiful day, and the children and Chinky could see for miles. The chair seemed in a rather silly mood. It swung to and fro as it flew, and even jaggled about once or twice. I say, said Chinky, I don't like this. Hold on tightly, children, in case the chair turns head over heels or something silly. It is in a dangerous mood. Shall we go back home? Asked Molly in alarm. Of course not, said Peter. We will never turn our backs on an adventure. So on they went, and the chair is still doing its little tricks. At last, Chinky really did get a bit frightened, for once Peter nearly fell off. Go down to earth at once, chair, he commanded. The chair seemed cross. It didn't want to go down, but it had to. So down it went, jiggling every now and again as if it really did mean to jerk the children off. Peter looked down to see where they were going. There was a village below them, and they seemed to be going down towards the roof of a house. Hope the chair doesn't land on the roof, said Peter. It looks just as if it is going to. But it did something even worse than land on the roof. What do you suppose it did? It tried to go down the large red chimney belonging to the house. It really was behaving very foolishly. Of course, It couldn't be possibly go down, and it stuck fast, three legs in, one out, and there it was, all sideways, with the children getting covered with shoe and smoke. Chinky climbed out first and helped Peter and Molly out too. They sat on the roof, holding on to the chimney, which felt rather hot because warm smoke was coming out of it. Chinky was very angry. I never thought the chair would be so silly, he said. It has acted so sensibly up to now. Now look what it has done. It is gone and stuck itself in somebody's chimney, and goodness knows how we are going to get it out. And here we are up on a roof in a village we don't know. It's too bad, said Molly. Look at my frock, all over soup. We would better shout and see if someone will get us down, said Peter. So they shouted, Hey, 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 help! Soon a groom heard their shouting and came out to see what it was all about. When he saw the three children up on the roof and the chair in the chimney, he was amazed. He shouted to his friends, and soon the whole village was staring upwards. Get a ladder and help us down, shouted Peter. Our chair has landed us in this fix. In a few minutes, a long ladder was brought, and the children and Chinky climbed carefully down it to the ground. Chinky explained what had happened, and the village folk exclaimed in astonishment. The thing is, said Peter, how are we going to get the chair out? It can't stay there for the rest of its life. Cooking in a chimney pot, who would have thought it would have been so silly? It's trying to get out, said Molly suddenly. Look, it's wriggling. So it was. It did look funny. It tried its hardest to get out, but it was stuck much too tightly. It's no good, said Peter gloomily. It will have to stay there. I don't see how we can possibly get it out. Of course we can, said Chinky. We'll get the village sweep to come along to put his long brush up in the chimney. Then the silly old chair will be swept out of the chimney. We will get it out when it comes to earth and go home immediately before it has time to do anything silly again. I'll fetch the sweep, said a round faced gnome at once. He lives next door to me. He ran off and in a few minutes came back with a little sweep, looking rather black, carrying his bundle of poles. He stared in astonishment at the chair in the chimney. Can you push it out for us? Asked Chinky anxiously. I'll try, said the sweep. He went into the house and fitted the big round brush onto the first pole. He pushed it up the chimney. Then he fitted another pole onto the first one and pushed that up in the chimney too. So he went on until the brush was almost at the top. Then he fitted on his last pole and prepared to give a good push. Chinky, Molly, and Peter were outside the house, watching the chair in the chimney. All the grown villagers were with them too. It was really rather exciting. The chair gave a jolt. The sweep is pushing up, yelled Chinky, dancing about excitedly. Oh, look, he is pushing it hard. The chair is coming out. It's nearly out. So it was. The sweep was pushing and pushing with his round brush, and the chair was getting loose as it was jerked rather further up. Suddenly, it came right out of the chimney with a rush. The sweep's brush came out too and twiddled round in the chair in a funny manner. There it comes, shouted Molly. Hi, chair, come to earth. But to the children's dismay, that naughty wishing chair flapped its red wings and flew right up into the air. It didn't go near the ground. Oh, I see, said Chinky. Isn't it behaving badly? They all watched it fly away till they could no longer see it. It was gone. Well, said Molly, we'll have to get home another way. That's all. I'm afraid we have lost the chair now. We will catch the bus that leaves here in 5 minutes, said Chinky, looking at a bus timetable set out on a wall near. It won't be long before we are home. I'm sorry about the chair, said Peter sadly. It gave us some fine adventures, you know. It has behaved very badly today. It's true, but once or twice it has been very good to us, like when it fetched us from which Kirikiris. Yes, said Chinky. We must not forget the good things just because it has once been bad. Come on, here is a bus. They got into the bus, which was very peculiar because the driver was a duck and the conductor was a rabbit. However, Chinky didn't seem surprised, so Molly and Peter said nothing but just stared. In 10 minutes, they found themselves outside a cave in a hillside. This is where we get off, said Chinky. Much to their surprise, they followed him into the cave and up some steps. Chinky opened a door, and to the children's amazement, they found themselves climbing out of a tree in the wood near to their home. You simply never know where on an entrance to fairyland is, said Molly, staring at the tree as Chinky shut the bark door. They ran home, and the very first thing they saw in their playroom was, guess, yes, their wishing chair. They stared in astonishment. Why, it has come back home after all, said Peter, delighted. Its wings have gone. Oh, fancy, it's come back to us. Isn't that lovely? Good old chair, said Molly, running to it and sitting down in it. I'm glad it's back. I expect it's sorry now. I don't mind having nearly gone down a chimney now it's all over. It's so exciting to think of. Don't say things like that in front of the chair, said Chinky. There is no knowing what it might do next. Let's brush our clothes clean, said Peter. Getting a brush will get into the trouble if we don't, and certainly no one would believe us if we said we had been stuck in a chimney. Whatever shall we do next? Said Molly. Ah, wait and see. With Adventure 14th coming soon. Till then, good night, goodbye.